So we have all heard of the Nigerian Prince Scammer, but who has ever heard of a Danish Prince Scammer? What the hell?
She was scammed out of over $500,000 by her soulmate, and she shared this story on TikTok, calling it the Danish deception. It all started in 2022 when Onyeka Ehi met this tall, charming, I have royal ties Danish guy at a beach club in Croatia. Instant chemistry. He flew her to Monaco, paid for luxury hotels, took her to Saint-Tropez, the whole fairy tale. She fell hard, told him she loved him, he said it back, and then that's when things got dark, because suddenly his millions were tied up, the IRS froze his accounts, and he just needed a small loan. $6,000 turned into tens of thousands, while they were planning a life together, even marriage and a green card. But when she visited his family in Denmark, nothing matched his stories. Then she learned he had a massive gambling addiction and had already borrowed $200,000 from her friend's husband, then money from her friends, even $3,000 from her little sister. Every loan came with a new lie, and when he couldn't lie anymore, he simply asked for a divorce and disappeared. Only after he left did she realize the full scale of the cheating, gambling, manipulation, and the $300,000 hole he left behind. She didn't post his name or picture, but the internet did what the internet does, and they found him.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Right. So there's this story that is really going viral on TikTok and is also bringing awareness, yeah? The story is called the Danish deception. And guys, a lot of the times we normally hear about scammers, but internationally I think the people who won the title are Nigerians who happen to be black. No offense to our Nigerian fans, yeah?
Right. But what makes today's case very special is a Nigerian woman who was born and raised in America but has roots in Nigeria was scammed by a white Danish man with blue eyes and blonde hair.
And guys, it wasn't just only her family. It was her family, her
And
sister, her mother, her friends.
Everybody got scammed.
Right? And I don't think we talk enough about white scammers. I guess it's why people cannot fathom the
fact that a white person can scam people, because also, as we usually say, white people are not supposed to be poor, at least according to white supremacy and how we've been sold the white narrative.
Right.
But she got, and people on the internet are not going easy on her. But if you want to know the whole story of the Danish scammer, those of you who have TikTok, just go on TikTok and Google the Danish scammer,
right? But guys,
deception, not scammer, deception.
Right, but I don't think this gets talked about enough. But we don't want to talk alone. Let's just watch what we've prepared for you, and then we come back and talk about it. I can't imagine being scammed. And guys, the world is changing right now. It's Africans who are
everybody
scammed by white people.
Right now they're saying right now everybody is hungry, even white people.
Everybody wants to eat.
Let's watch and then we come back.
I watched somebody say that they don't think race had anything to do with what happened in the Danish deception, and I completely disagree. I don't even think race was a background detail. I think it's the structure that made this entire situation possible. Literally, the whole time I watched this 25-part series, I kept asking myself, how is this possible? How did he get away with all of this? And in the end, the only conclusion that made sense was that his race had everything to do with it. For Onyeka, this wasn't simply about being misled. It was shaped by her personal relationship to her blackness, and maybe even the racial messages she absorbed growing up in an African immigrant household. She wasn't just dealing with a man, she was dealing with years of conditioning that whiteness is safer, it's more desirable, more trustworthy. You could see it in how she was describing this man in the beginning of this series, and also how she adapted herself when she was around him. In almost every single picture that I have seen of them together, her hair was straightened. For many black women with low racial self-esteem, straightening their hair around white partners is not just a style choice. In many cases, it's an attempt to fit this Eurocentric standard that they've been taught is more acceptable and more lovable. And this conditioning doesn't come from nowhere. As an African myself, I know that many African immigrant families associate whiteness with competence.
The thing that really triggered me about the story was the friends. You're telling me the friends couldn't talk to each other and be like, yo, he borrowed money from me and he hasn't paid it back. Or they couldn't call her to the side and be like, hey, I hope everything's great, but I've seen on your Instagram that you're in, Colombia, you're in Paris, you're here and there, but your husband did borrow £3,000 from me. When is that man going to pay it back? None of them could have brought her aside to ask. That's the part of the story that I don't understand. Like, they must be super wealthy that £3,000 was not a lot of money for them. To add to that, they must be super wealthy. The friend that borrowed 150k, but the inflation made it 200 to 300 based on crypto, never told her when is he gonna pay back.
Poverty has saved me once again, because the minute that a rich white man would have started asking me, my family, or my friends for some money, ooh, baby, that would have been a wrap, because we ain't got it. Have y'all been seeing this lady's story time go viral? Her name is Onyeka, and she was on one of the previous seasons of The Bachelor. The name of this story time is The Danish Deception, where Onyeka, in a 26-part, 25 parts plus the conclusion, talks about how she was scammed by this seemingly wealthy man that she met on vacation and eventually ended up marrying. Now, she tried to keep his identity a secret, but the internet did some snooping and found out who her ex is. This is Martin Forsgaard Anderson. Onyeka met him in June 2022 when she was on vacation in Croatia at a beach club, and they pretty much hit it off instantly. He says he's a real estate mogul, competed at the Olympics, is a relative of the royal family, has a booming tech business. They exchange social media, talk all the time, and then he proceeds to sweep her off of her feet, which was really love bombing, because he flew her out to Monaco, Saint-Tropez, put her in expensive hotels, was trying to take her on shopping sprees, but she didn't want to come off as a gold digger, so she let him buy her some fancy sunglasses, and then later over dinner, she professes her love to him. He does the same later on, and then eventually when he starts visiting her in the US, he hits it off with her family and friends as well. And then sometime later, he starts asking her for money. And I'm not talking about no little bit of money. Like, she loaned him $6,000 and then some. And then they do eventually end up getting married and he gets his green card. But the thing is, y'all, he wasn't just asking money from her. Like, he was hitting up her family, her friends. Onyeka's little sister gave him $3,000. Her friend's husband gave him $200K. And there was always some type of excuse as to why he needed it, saying that his money was tied up with the IRS and a whole bunch of other lies. And then she went to go visit his family and saw that the math wasn't mathin', found out from one of his friends that Martin has a gambling addiction that he has been fighting for well over a decade. And then Martin allegedly encouraged her to make some very poor financial decisions. For example, he convinced her to use her money to fly them out to Portugal to celebrate Martin selling an apartment, and then encouraged her to quit her job where she was making over $150,000 per year because she didn't like it, only for the money to not come through on the deal, leading to Onyeka burning through her savings. Eventually, they do end up getting divorced, courtesy of Martin. He is the one who asked for it, because Onyeka was on his butt about the lies, the inconsistencies, where's the money, and then when he got sick of it, he finally left. The purpose of the story time was to warn others about Martin and people like him, as well as to highlight the dangers of gambling addiction. I do encourage y'all to go watch her story time because I just gave y'all a very brief overview. He's done a lot more than what I said, but I still cannot get over the amount of money that she, her family, and friends lent this guy. Like, I think the total was around $300,000.
And you know what else is crazy? People saying, oh, don't victim blame. She's not a victim. Guys, somebody, a white man with blue eyes and blonde hair comes to you and says, I am a millionaire. I am royalty. Then the next thing he says is, I need $6,000. Are we victim blaming or are we common sense pointing outing? Which one is it? Like, I feel like the internet loves to do all these like internet-y things like, oh, you don't understand. If somebody comes to me and says, I am rich, go buy a Chanel bag, then 2 days later comes back and says, I need $6,000. I know this is a scheme set up by Todd. Hello? Mind you, this girl, she wasn't even like in her early 20s. If she was like in her late teens, early 20s, I could understand. Homegirl's in her late 30s. You work in real estate, which means you verify people's funds before they let them buy houses. Girl, no funny. I would not even trust you to, I don't want to buy no house from you. Because common sense is running very far from you. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, he deceived you. He deceived you in the same way that people call our phones every day trying to run a scam, telling us that, you know, we owe something on our Verizon bill, etc. What do? You hang up the call. This wasn't that. And another thing, her allowing this man into her life. Guys, think about it really well, right? When your friend or your sister or your cousin gets a boyfriend, you don't go vetting him. You assume that your relative, your cousin, your whatever, did the work to vet him herself before she allowed him come into your family. So she cost her family all that money. Hello? What's not clicking? Like, this isn't about no victim blaming. What millionaire needs $6,000? I think that was the first amount of money that she said that he asked for. What millionaire needs 6,000 US doll hairs? None. Girl, you work in real estate. Are you serious? You're in your late 20s. Are you serious? You're Igbo. And let's talk about that Igbo-ness of yours. You go to the village, which means you know. There's no Igbo person. First of all, going to the village is such an active thing to do. It's such an active process. You gotta get to Lagos. You gotta hire a bus or get on another plane. Get to your village. Go through. Your parents will tell you, don't greet that auntie. Don't let that person touch you. Don't pick up money from the floor. Don't eat that person's food. Like, it's such an active experience. It's not something that you just do and then you just come back to Dallas and you don't know, like, you know the tease. You know a scam. You know to stay away from that cousin, but let that cousin close. You know the vibes. I'm Igbo. Stop playing. So I think she knew she was getting scammed. She was giving him the money to cover it all up. You know? And she liked the idea of him and this white man being together. She knew he was funny style. She didn't mind as long as he was on her arm. The second he gets off her arm, now you're stealing passports and stuff. Sometimes, guys, people are just dumb. And come on the internet and just say, hey guys, I am dumb and this is what I did. Because don't come up here telling me this guy, he overly scammed you, he was so manipulative, he was such a genius. No, he's not. There's no genius, millionaire that needs $6,000 from me. That's the first one. First, I'll say, wow. What's more proof? Proof that he's a millionaire or proof that he asked me for 6K? Are we catching the vibes? And another thing, her saying, I wanted to show him that I wasn't here for his money. What do you mean? If a man tells you he has money, you enjoying the money is not you using him. It's you enjoying the thing that he has. I got jokes. If somebody says, Chi, I don't want you to think I'm with you because you're funny, then why else would you be with me? I got plenty of jokes. Come and get one. Like, you, really deconstruct why you did this, why you, Onyeka, Anika, why you did this to your family and friends. Deconstruct it. Because yeah, that man had a part to play, but girl, you had a bigger one. And that's why I always say, when you meet a man, when you're dealing with a man, tell yourself the story of how you guys met and how the relationship is going like a storybook. I've said this already. Don't leave out any details. Don't do ups and downs. Don't skip past. Say it the first day we did it, second day we did it. Because guess what? Once you start saying it to yourself, I'll even do you a better one. Record yourself while you're saying it. Then you can get to the tease of what's going on. Because a lot of people like to play victim instead of just saying, actually, I wasn't that much of a victim. What lady in her late 20s hears that a man is a millionaire, that you can fly all across Europe, but then in the same breath you need 6K? Could make sense, rara. So lady, that's why everybody's blaming you because we're not dumb. Like, I'm not gonna play this internet game of like, oh yeah, but hold on. No, but nothing. There's no millionaire that's gonna ask me for $6,000. And that's just that on that. Okay? Okay.
That was easily 40K in flights alone. They were on a trip in 90% of that 25-part series. I know that's besides the point, but my God. The series had me in a chokehold. That shit had me locked in. They say our attention spans are compromised. No, that shit was an emotional roller coaster ride. I laughed, I cried, I judged her, I empathized with her. I was angry, I was disgusted, I felt all the things. The one part I laughed is when one of the guys that were scammed was like, well, you're Nigerian, and y'all are known to be scammers, so I didn't know whether you were in on it. And instead of being insulted, she's like, it is crazy that he was able to pull one over on Nigerians. You're right. It shouldn't even cross her mind to be offended. Anywho, I've seen pictures of him and he is attractive. At least there's that, for real. Because if it were to come out that he actually wasn't fine, then I'd be pissed at Anika. And honestly, your first love, it really is like a drug. You lose all common sense. I remember my first love and I were ready to risk it all, but to be fair, we were in high school. We didn't have the agency or the bank accounts to make such expensive decisions. Damn, let me get back to my life.
Danish deception. The only thing deceptive is how the hell y'all taking all these trips. There's a trip in every part, a trip or two, in fact. Monaco, Paris, Broken Bow, Cartagena. What? Where y'all getting all this money from? Ain't now $1 in his account, but yet y'all catching flights. 34 cents in the account, but you in a villa somewhere. Catching flights and fraud charges, flights and tax bills. And you just soaking it up, believing every minute of it. And Crypto and Cryptisha, they better than me, because you'd have been hearing from my lawyer. How you catching all these flights and you owe me bread, 200 bands, and you in a villa, feet up? I ain't gonna lie, once somebody start having too many troubles, I'd be like, okay, you just, I ain't trying to have you rub off on me. Your daddy got cancer, your mama back broke, your back hurting, you done lost all your money, you getting this coming through, your insurance bill. Know, you got too much going on right now. You need to figure that out. I don't want your woes to rub off on me. I'ma go on by my...
Risa teases Who the Fuck Did I Marry had a key ingredient that is missing in the Danish deception, and that secret sauce is why Onyeka is struggling to connect with audiences in the same way that Risa did. Let's talk about it. I recently finished watching the Danish deception, and I've also been combing through the comments, and I'm realizing more and more that people are struggling to feel an ounce of remorse for Onyeka, and this is, in my opinion, because she has failed to hold herself accountable in the role she played in this scam. And when I say hold herself accountable, I'm in no way victim blaming. I simply mean a lot of her story is external and the internal monologue is not happening. And this is very much unlike Risa, where when Risa was telling us her story, she gave us a peep into what she was going through emotionally that made it easy for Legion to scam her. We don't see that with Onyeka, because the truth of the matter is this. Scammers, or let me say perpetrators, oftentimes pick their victims. And they do this so that they can maximize their chances of success and minimize the risk.
She was afraid of being labeled a gold digger, and that's why she got. And until Black women heal their relationship with money, I think Black women will continue to get got in relationships. Let's put on our thinking caps and talk about it. As I watched the series, one of the things that I kept noticing was her emphasis on she wasn't with this man for money. She didn't want him to think that she was with him for money. And living in a capitalist society at this point, I think if we treated money like a natural resource, because at this point it's vital for our survival, that I feel like Black women would feel like they are more deserving of it, they are in need of it, and it's a resource that they enjoy having and a resource that they enjoy using. And I truly think the need to convince men that we're not with them for money stems from Black women being labeled gold diggers, right?
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about this episode on the comment section. Yeah, you know, the most unfortunate part about this whole story is because personally I'm nosy like that. I went and I heard this lady's story, right? And the saddest part is that the lady, when she's telling this story, it looks like she tells it with quite fondness, right? The way she talks, the way she describes, she makes you fall in love when she talks, right? She's talking about this guy like she's still in love with him, and like he did nothing wrong to her, right? And this is what people on the internet are infuriated about, because they're like, girl, this man came to you with ill intentions, this guy scammed you, but why are you talking like you're still in love with him anyway? That aside, people were also disappointed upon learning that it's not even the lady who wanted divorce from this man, yeah, it was the man who left. And the internet is convinced that race had a very big part to play in how this woman got, right? Because most of them believe that had this been a Black man, and most especially had it been a Nigerian man, he wouldn't have gotten as far as stealing from this Black woman $300,000+, you know? Right. And let me just say, Martin, I feel like that is how this guy survives, you know. And for him, despite this lady knowing the truth, the lady is the one who should have asked for a divorce, and the fact that she didn't means she would have made it work. even the way it sounds. Anyway, she would have made this work out, right? But not because the lady was not asking for a divorce. Martin decided he needed to go. He's hustling, right? He needed to go and find another poor, unsuspecting victim because he has the
Not
looks.
another poor, unsuspecting victim, another rich, unsuspecting victim.
In order to scam that person. And guys, can we just admire the fact that, when you hear their story, these people are well traveled, they've gone to where and where. So I'm asking myself,
He even lied to the lady that he owns a club. So I'm guessing it's a football club in Croatia.
Really?
So maybe the woman thought she was investing in her future. But how do you invest that amount of money to a person who seemingly is rich and has royal ties? People who claim to have royal ties, it's just a matter of picking up a phone and the accountant sends you money. Or are we the ones imagining?
No, I do imagine people who have royal ties are people like Prince
Who
William.
have access to money,
They have,
right?
even in their country, they have a say. I feel like they have certain connections because
That
of their
$6,000
generational
would
royalty.
Right, that $6,000 would not even be money that you're borrowing from seemingly poor subjects.
Right, but for herself, she didn't want to come off as being opportunistic or whatever.
Or a gold digger. And there is a black woman from our compilation who said that unless black women learn their relationship with money and repair their relationship with money, most black women will continue to get got because they grew up in an era where they were literally called gold diggers, that when they get into a relationship with this kind of men and try to prove that they're not gold diggers, this is how they get got.
So guys, what do you have to say about this story? Because I feel like the fact that she even came out, the lady is pretty, she's very, very beautiful, yeah, of Nigerian ancestry, right? She comes from her origin is Nigeria, but she comes from Texas. She's been raised in Texas. She looks like a successful woman and she's
Well-traveled.
well-traveled. That is something really to admire. But, when you're with the wrong person, like your worth wouldn't be really seen and you're going to be second-guessing yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah?
And your wealth will diminish like that faster than you can say your name.
Right. But for her, at least, they normally say on this planet, you have to have something that is working to your advantage. If it's not pretty privilege, there are people who use their pretty privilege. And apparently, Martin knew how to use his.
The Danish guy, Martin, he knew how to. So I think Martin, the biggest investment he's made is in his looks.
But now the girl has made him famous. Do you know, guys?
By the way,
someone to
nobody
even
knew about Martin.
Right,
The girl made him very famous.
Also, and not intentionally, because she was just out here giving her story. But trust TikTok investigators, trust the online sleuths, to go and dig up his pictures, because this lady loves him to a point where
he still wanted to protect his identity.
image, and you're like, people are really curious. You keep on talking about this guy, this Danish handsome guy.
And the way you're saying it is like y'all were enjoying sunsets in Tuscany and you are from a romantic novel or movie.
Right? By the way she tells her story, it's like reading a novel, because there's so much poetic moments she describes. A man who catches you when you fall.
A man who holds you and the electricity passes down your spine.
Yeah. But her story is straight up out of a novel, but it really happened to her, And then
at least she experienced love, even if it was fake.
Really? And I don't know how to look at it. I really don't know. But
you must have to be out of your mind in order for you to send someone. You and your family to send someone over $300,000 and still don't see the red flags in that person. You must be out of your mind. So maybe she was very much in love with that guy.
Right. And can we also talk about the fact that everybody around this lady, beginning with her sisters, her friends, her whatever circle, was sending this guy money who happens to be her husband, and she didn't have any knowledge
of it. And they didn't even tell her that her husband was borrowing money
right.
up until she hits the fan, and then they all come out and say they
also
gave her
gave him-
money. And I'm just thinking, why would your friends not tell you that your husband borrowed money, large sums of money, and they gave him, unless they wanted to also sleep with him behind your back? Anyway.
That's a good question, by the way, because like, why would you give someone your hard-earned $2,000? Why would you give someone your hard-earned $3,000
and keep giving that person money?
Yeah, but one thing that I'm seeing, guys, if you're pretty, you see how it worked for Martin. I feel like people with pretty privilege who really knows how to diabolically use their gift, really get the most out of it. And Martin probably wanted a divorce because right now, as we speak, before he started
money
going
was
viral,
tanking.
not even that, the money he had borrowed, because I do believe for him to have taken the girl to vacation, because there's a point where they really travel in her story, and he paid for her flight, he paid for her hotel, which was very nice and expensive.
But then he collected 2 times.
Yeah, it's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there was a lady that Martin must have been duping to fund this other new relationship. You get
right, and right now he's left the new relationship to go and look for another relationship with the funds he acquired from her and her family.
Anyway, guys, let us know what you think about this video in the comment section. Also, consider subscribing if it's your first time here. And one question I can leave you with is, do you really believe that if it was a black man, if it was a black African, if it was a Nigerian, if it was an Indian,
if it was just simple and short, a black man, or it doesn't matter from where in these 3 or 4 corners of the world, you just have to be a black and you have to be a man, black man,
right?
Would she have gone above and beyond to give you all this money, unless she was also equally just as in love with you as she was with the Danish man?
I don't think so. If you meet black women who are successful, these women, I feel like for the most part, because they've struggled to get there, they're very cautious with their money.
Not this one.
Because it was a white man.
She drowned in the blue eyes.
Because it was a blue-eyed, white, blonde guy,
But I do believe if a man wants to con you, it doesn't matter what race the man is. I do believe men who have specialized in conning, they know how to play the game.
They know where to press the weaknesses of women.
Right, because you just imagine, this was just one normal Danish man who conned this woman, even if he's white. But in her case, race had a lot to do with why she was conned, right? Can you imagine if this was just a simple man who conned this simple woman? Why I'm saying that men, it doesn't matter the race. Men can con you when they want to. Hush Puppy managed to con even governments.
That's true.
And he was black.
Guys, if you don't know,
Puppy, the story of Hush Puppy.
Oh, but may I respect Hush Puppy. He used brains, and he stole from the right people,
Yeah, and
government,
the Danish
corporations.
But anyway, maybe in the Danish man's book, she was the right person to steal.
Guys, if you watched this far, let me know. Do you know the story of Hush Puppy? If you don't know, just go look it up and tell me what you think about that story.
Yeah.
I want to know if that was one con that went down in history that you would have
one
supported.
Of the cons.
Exactly. Anyway, guys, let us know what you think about this episode. Also, consider subscribing, and we'll see you on another
next episode.
Right.